Hi, Joel.
Hello, Brianna.
How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for coming and sitting with me.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's going to be great. We're going to sit and talk about your piece Nowadays that was performed at Choreographic Works this past February. Oh my God, is it already March?
I know, right?
Halfway
it's
through
crazy.
Time
through.
is crazy for me. So let's start by talking about how you began the process of the concept of it. Mm-hmm. Did it come from a place of personal story?
I saw an Instagram post about this artist from, I think it was Copenhagen.
Okay.
And he set up 24 blocks of ice, like glacier ice, in London in front of the Tate Modern.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
They transferred them into the middle of the city. And so over a period of time, they just slowly melted. Wow. And I can't remember the artist's name. I couldn't tell you how to pronounce it. But
sure.
I saw that and I was like, that is like incredible. That's a perfect way to say, look what's happening.
You're trying to, think about how that works.
They were huge.
Yeah.
And I think they took a couple of weeks to melt. So I saw that, and for a long time I've wanted to do a piece about climate change and global warming, but I didn't want to do something that was the world's ending. Oh my God, what are we going to do? So when I saw this, I'm like, wow, ice, that's such a big part of climate change, and, the world's heating up and ice is melting. So that's kind of where I first got an idea, and I was like, maybe I could do something about this. How can I create something and really put out my feelings and my thoughts about it? So that's kind of where it came from, and from there I kind of created a little story of ice melting. Then we have a poem in the middle, right, and the ending is kind of a group of people coming together. Okay. And I think of that more as we're coming together to fix the problem, because it's not one singular person. Everyone needs to make a difference. Totally. And it takes everyone to fix this big issue that we've got going on.
Well said. Wow. Yes, I'm very inspired by that, because that's such a current event in our lives that gets glossed over.
And it's something I've always thought about, and it's all around us. And, I'm trying as hard as I can to reduce my waste. I avoid plastics that are single use as much as possible. I'm in the grocery store carrying around a head of broccoli without a bag, because I'm thinking, I don't need the bag. I can do without it. So, and it's just little things like that if everyone does it, it makes such a big difference.
Good for you, yes.
And, it's all about little acts that really contribute to this big problem. So,
lovely. And putting that through movement is so beautiful. I wasn't able to watch it from the front of the stage, but from the side, I found your dancers were so breathy and so positive in the way that they approached the choreo. Can you talk about how, when you were creating it, did you really, really want things to feel more, because it's very connected to ballet, I would say. And obviously we love a good ballet. Of course, Joel, you love a good ballet. And I think that's something that sometimes a lot of people don't really come from a place of ballet, because they're like, ballet is just training. Ballet is just, this own little thing. But I think it can be incorporated in so many other ways. You want to maybe talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm really inspired by people like George Balanchine, and more modern people like Alexei Rebnansky, Wayne McGregor, people like that who have this sense of ballet, and they mainly work with big ballet companies like New York City Ballet, National Ballet of Canada.
For sure.
And their work is something I've always wanted to dance one of their pieces, because they're classical, but they have a contemporary element, and they're very they're contemporary ballet, that's true contemporary ballet, and that's one of my favorite styles, because I love the technique and the classical ballet, but there's something about contemporary and the way you can mold your body
Mm-hmm.
that I just find so fascinating, and
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love you can get really strong and deep and low in your movement.
Yes.
So the combination of the two I absolutely love. So I kind of wanted to work from somewhere with that, with the classical movements like they do, an arabesque, and hold that and have slow, long, lengthy movements that are more on the classical side, and then incorporate moments of contemporary. And I really felt that, especially for the first section of the dance, that was all about the icebergs breaking apart, floating in the water. That almost has to be flowy because it's like an iceberg floating, and they should look like they're floating across the stage, and how they interact with each other should be fluid. And so that's something I really worked on, was we need to make this fluid and look like you guys are icebergs just floating in the water.
Amazing.
And so that's kind of where I took the ballet aspect.
Was that tricky at first?
Oh, extremely.
To find a smooth flow?
Yeah, it took so long, and I think we had maybe 5 or 6 rehearsals in total, maybe. It wasn't a lot, and I didn't start the piece until after Christmas break.
Okay.
So I had a week to put it together before the auditions, which was stressful, but throughout the beginning to the end, I kept running it with the idea that the more that I run it, the more comfortable they'll become with the movement.
Yes.
And so they can focus less on what am I doing next, and let's just flow movements together. And one of the things I really like when I choreograph is being able to see each movement, but then they flow together. So finishing each movement.
So it's not just individual.
Yeah, and when I first said the choreo, it was often, when I would see it, it was just movement to movement to movement. It wasn't a fluid flow. And so when I first said it, I was like, oh, this isn't really what I was going for.
Oh, okay.
And then over time, it became more fluid. And
you found it.
Yeah, the dancers were, truly amazing. And I could throw anything at them, and they would take it and be like, okay, we can figure this out. And I would throw very classical elements at them. They'd be like, oh, you could see they would freak out a little bit, be like, oh my God, what are we doing? And then give it a week, and they had it. And it was perfect.
That's so inspiring. It's amazing. Right? Yeah.
And I could not have done it without those dancers.
Cool.
Just being able to throw anything at them and them picking it up so quickly. And, they all had that classical element to it, but they also took the contemporary side. It was an amazing process, and loved it so much. Would
you want to continue being a choreographer?
Yeah.
After this experience, I feel
100%.
It's definitely affected you in such a positive and exciting way.
Yeah, it had its stressful moments, that's for sure. I had moments where I was thinking, what am I doing? This is crazy, but I can't do this. But I think that really helped me, really pushed me to finish it. Finish it, because once it's going to be a work in progress always.
Of course.
Always. And every single show, it got better and better and better and tighter, cleaner.
Right.
And they always performed it a little bit differently, which I liked because I saw it 100 times. So seeing it done a little bit differently every time was refreshing. Oh yes, something new. Oh, nice. And in the second half, I think it was maybe halfway through the show run, I spoke to Ethan and Judy and said, there's a moment you look at each other. Can you smile? Just really acknowledge that you're looking at each other, because I felt, it was just, they were looking at each other but weren't really acknowledging and connecting.
Yes, yeah.
And they did it that night, and they looked at each other and had this glow on their face, and I just... standing backstage, I had this giant grin on my face. I was like, yes, this is gorgeous. I love it. And they inspired me to keep moving with it. And yeah, I definitely want to keep choreographing and explore more concepts and ideas.
Why not, right?
Techniques. And I mainly, this time when I choreographed, I basically just threw choreo at them and said, pick it up. I had moments of, they would help me. So I'd be like, what's something you would do here? And so they would show me. I'm like, okay, well, let's kind of mold that into something that I want to see. And so it was mainly just because of the time constraint. I didn't really get a chance to do some task work, and that's something I think I'd love to play with, like different ways of choreographing and creating movement and creating work. Like, so yeah, I'd definitely be choreographing again soon, hopefully.
That's like the beauty of our program. Is
Yeah.
That it, sort of like you said, it kind of pushes you to just put on the hat of a choreographer. You know, whether or not you've tried it before, and you know, we audition billions of pieces, and you know, some might not get in, but like you said, it's a work in progress.
Exactly.
We're all collaborating and making something happen. That's awesome. Cool. So let's talk about the text then, because like you said, there's two parts to it, and then there's this beautiful piece of text that your sister wrote, you said.
Yeah.
Sort of smack dab in the middle, and Judy delivers it. I'm just so interested, like, what made you think that, like, and this sounds like I'm like, that was a stupid idea, but I'm like, what made you think about text, like, using it, you know? Like, how does that
I was scared to use it.
Okay.
I mean, I can give someone a piece of text and say, speak this, but I didn't know how I was going to work on the acting aspect, and how were they going to deliver it? Was it going to be more acting? Was it going to be more authentic?
Right. Because that could be a little bit tricky in a dance performance, I guess you could say.
And so I was terrified to use it. But when I was coming up with the flow of the piece, I thought, so I want the beginning, I want it to like look like they're icebergs. Then I want something that transitions us into them being humans, not necessarily humans, but a group of people fighting against climate change, or fighting for climate change, or against climate change. Yeah.
Right, yes. For the cause.
Yes, for the cause. And so I texted my sister, I'm like, do you have any, like, inspiration? Like, all I said to her was, I'm doing a piece about climate change, icebergs melting. I'd love a minute or two of, like, text, a poem, something like that, just to throw in there and see what I can create with it. And what she sent back to me, I was like, wow, that's got so much behind it.
And it's like fit what your concept, your original concept.
Yeah, it really, it did fit with the concept, but it also changed the way I was working.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had this structure, and once I got the text, I'm like, okay, I can play with that a little bit more. And so, you know, as I read it and worked on it, kind of structured my piece a little bit differently than it did when I first started coming up with my ideas. And
did it feel, because it obviously fits so well right in the middle. Like, I'm wondering if you tried it at the end or beginning, and like having that, it's like an intermission. It's like a little moment of like reflection, and then we go back to dancing.
I never did try it in the middle, or at the end or at the beginning.
Okay.
I would love to see what that might do to it.
Yeah, it changes it a bit.
Yeah, I'd love to try that, because, you know, it was such a beautiful piece, and I was so grateful to be able to work with it.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'd definitely love to see maybe something else with it. And when I had the piece, I didn't want Judy just to stand there and speak.
Right.
But I didn't want a full dance. So what we did was, together we kind of spent an hour just creating small little movements that didn't, you know, she talks about the birds and the bees, so I didn't want it to be very literal in her being a bird and then a bee.
Right, the gestures and everything.
Yeah, but I wanted the feeling. Like, what does this make you feel? And, you know, she got tight at moments because she was talking about, like, all that kind of, like, and laying in the sun. She laid on the ground and was just, like, looking up at the sky, like, bask in the sun. You hear the hummingbirds hum. And
it sort of paints a picture that way.
Exactly, without being, like, too literal.
And I guess going back to climate change, it's maybe sort of the picture that we want to look for.
Exactly.
Is like the glowing sun, you know, everyone's healthy.
And this beautiful image of birds and bees and hummingbirds and running your hands through the hair, taking a breath of fresh air.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Like, just thinking about in the summer, just laying in the sun. And like, that's what we have in this amazing world.
Mm-hmm.
We got to keep that. Because if we don't, like, fix the mistakes we've made, that's all gone. We won't have that anymore. And that's, for me, so sad.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The world is so beautiful. It's an amazing place, you know. You don't want to lose it.
It really is. It really is. Well, that's so beautiful that you chose to connect to that. Something I guess, personally, I always kind of forget about. Because, you know, we come to school, we go to our jobs, like, we sort of are always on our own. And then you realize that there's this beautiful place that you're living in every day.
I walk down the street and my head's down.
Right.
You know, sometimes I forget to look up and be like, look at where I am. Mm-hmm. Look at this amazing thing that we've built. But in this amazing place we're living, you know.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, this kind of segues into this. Like, do you want to continue with this piece? Is it something that needs to be a bit longer? Is it something that you just want to hold at choreo and keep it there?
Yeah, I would love to continue with it.
Cool.
And I've actually had people say, I felt like it wasn't over. I felt it needed to be longer. And because we had a constraint of 5 minutes, and I think mine ended up being 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Kind of snuck that 30 seconds in there.
Good for you.
But I only had, I think, a minute and 40 seconds of dancing at the beginning, and I think a minute and 30 at the end. Okay. Because Judy's monologue took a good chunk of the time, which I'm so happy with. You know, I'm so happy with how it turned out. So yeah, I definitely want to continue. I have this image in my head of an interactive, you know, multidisciplinary, I would say exhibit kind of thing.
Love it.
Where you go through and you've got the icebergs in different, you know, you've got the icebergs, you've got the rainforest, you've got the plastic in the ocean. Different elements of climate change and global warming, and you know, you can create movement for each of them and include text, music, everything, projection, all the lighting, like kind of like a walkthrough.
Okay, so more like an experience.
Yeah, more like kind of like an experience. Yeah,
beautiful.
You kind of walk through and you're in this world of climate change, you know, because we see it and we see it on the TV. But, like, imagine walking through and being in it. Like, being in the ocean with garbage. Being in the rainforest that's burning. That's kind of where I could see that going. And, you know, maybe creating a full-length piece on it.
Honestly, you know, why not?
That would be truly amazing to me. You know,
to
really have 45 minutes, let's say, to create something and really delve into more text. Try more music and different types of movement, you know.
Very beautiful. I can picture it in my head right now. That's so nice. Cool. And is there anything you want to plug right now? What's up for you this summer?
Not much at the moment. Hopefully I get some training in there, some intensives, and I would love to create something. Okay. Work with a group of people and create, you know, work throughout the whole summer. I'll work for you. I can imagine maybe working with a group of 20 people, let's say, or 10, I don't know. Yeah. And just creating something and at the end of the summer kind of presenting it, kind of like here's what we worked on over the summer. Yes, I think that would be awesome. Right. I mean, why not? We're all off, right? Yeah, we've got time. And then going into fourth year will be nice. Cool. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting with me. Thank you for having me. Loved this. I hope we can do it again. Yes, for sure.